Good morning and welcome to the February 8th edition of the OBX Wave Report. I am Robert Scribbler, your wave reporter on all things waves, weather, climate, and beach lifestyle. And wow, boy, do we have some crazy, cool, intense, possibly getting to beyond crazy, cool, and intense to severe and troublesome weather here on the Outer Banks. So right now, we are experiencing 4 to 9 foot surf on the east-facing beaches of the Outer Banks, driven from a hurricane force low pressure system, a hurricane force nor'easter that spun up rapidly and somewhat unexpectedly off the U.S. East Coast. This hurricane force nor'easter was not predicted in a long-term advance by the models. It kind of started to happen and then spun up over the course of a couple of days. So it was a bit of a surprise. And now we have a second nor'easter that may be coming together, a potentially very significant nor'easter for the Outer Banks and for the coastal waters off the US East Coast. And we're going to get into some of the details of the predictions for that nor'easter today. The storm is right now set to form over the weekend time frame, so we're a little bit out. So the main points right now for the OBX wave report are large, beautiful waves right now on the Outer Banks and great surfing conditions if you're willing to brave some big swells. The ocean waters on the northern shores are pretty cold. I experienced that yesterday in my surf session, and I took a lot of cold waves on the head. If I go out today again, I'm probably going to head on down to Rodanth as opposed to going out at Jeanette's. The water temperatures are a little too cold for me, even with all my cold weather gear. So I've found the limit of my 2-3 millimeter wetsuit, at least for me, and that's in the 47, maybe probably upper 40s and below is a little bit too cold. If I can get into the 50s, I think I'll be good. But I've got much more protective gear, and it's working more for me. I did manage to get out there for about 45 minutes to an hour to get about 3 to 4 good waves. Got a couple of good wipeouts. Took a lot of cold waves on the head. There was a bit of a riptide that was helping surfers get out to the mid and offshore breaks. But by the time I started to paddle out, it was just a wall of white water, and so I just had to duck dive through a mass of stuff. I will say this though, that the Lost Rocket Redux here is a fantastic board in the quad configuration, just so fast and nimble and agile out there in the heavy surf, and also just an amazing duck diving board, and an amazing board for catching waves. And I just felt like I could choose my position on these powerful waves, and that made me feel a lot more safe. I didn't feel like I had to get into the highest energy portion of the wave, especially with those big waves coming in. I didn't want to get drilled into the sandbar. I'm still working on my pop up and my balance. So this board is really starting to help me. I've learned my positioning on the board and the fin configuration that works best for me. We're going to try different fin configurations and see if we can work out all the details on this board as I progress or re-progress as a surfer and get back up to like a higher skill level. But okay, so very exciting, crazy weather here on the Outer Banks, and let's get into it. Right now, looking at the infrared satellite shot, we do see the hurricane force low that of yesterday and the day before is quite a bit weaker here off Newfoundland and heading up toward Baffin Bay and Greenland. An area of disturbed weather in the central United States is right now engaged in forming and firing up some thunderstorms. This impulse is what is predicted to be forming into a nor'easter by this weekend. It's at least that's what the weather picture is showing now, and this is something to keep an eye on. We do have a mass of clouds and severe weather off the US West Coast, particularly off of Washington, Oregon, Northern California, and the British Columbia region of Canada as well. I did want to show you some of the wind models and just show you some of the dynamics here. Right now in the near offshore environment off Newfoundland, we've got the weakened hurricane force low. It's not hurricane force now anymore. It's just a big old gale. Looks like let's see, let's look at the wind speeds. Yeah, 40 to 50 mile an hour winds in the southeastern quadrant of the system. And it's a part of a daisy chain of storms that's running up here in the North Atlantic toward Iceland and then up towards the Svalbard. This has been happening consistently over the past few weeks with these storms just running up east of Greenland here and into the Arctic. And here's the large storm off the Pacific. Can't really see the storm gathering as well over the central US unless you zoom in, but you do see the confluence of warm, moist airs moving up from the Gulf, the high pressure system off the US East Coast tapping into that moisture, and the moisture over the Gulf is more intense than it would typically be because of human caused climate change driven by fossil fuel burning. So this system has more energy potential than it typically would. All right, so looking at the marine forecast, I did want to highlight this synopsis for Wednesday, for today, for the Mid-Atlantic waters. And I just wanted to show you the forecast here. Actually, I'm going to start back here. This is from the National Weather Service, so weather.gov. It says a cold front will move across the northern waters today, stall over the central portions tonight, then return north as a warm front through Thursday ahead of a low pressure near the Great Lakes. A cold front will approach the coast Thursday night, move offshore Friday and into Friday night, then stall across the waters Saturday and Sunday, with a series of low pressure systems developing along the boundary. And when you hear that, you got to think nor'easter. That's right. That's kind of like the flashing nor'easter light. So mariners are urged to keep abreast of the latest forecast as the weekend approaches, with a potential for a significant low pressure development off the mid-Atlantic coast. All right, so let's get our nor'easter prediction peepers out, because the National Weather Service and NOAA are kind of highlighting that potential for us right now. All right, so we've got this system in the central US that's expected to track eastward. We've got all these watches and alerts up ahead of this system right now. For the East Coast, small craft advisories up from, looks like, about Wilmington, Wrightsville Beach area all the way up to Maine. So, and this in association with these large swells coming off the back of the hurricane force low of yesterday and the day before. Now just a gale force system, but the waves are still out there, folks, and we're going to talk about waves. All right, now looking at the NOAA QPF, the quantitative prediction analysis for the next 7 days, we get an indicator for how much storminess is likely to affect certain areas. And boy, is the US East and Southeast really starting to light up over the next 7 days. This is a very stormy pattern potentially now showing up in the models. None of this is, it does look like we're starting to get into the range of heavy rains, potential flash floodings, potential severe thunderstorms, and as well a potential nor'easter here off the coast of North Carolina over the coming days. So watch out. Okay, now let's get down to the local conditions. I do want to talk about what's going on the coast right now. And for brief and general synopsis, waves for the east-facing beaches now are in the range of 4 to 9 feet. And some locations are showing like 4 to 6 foot, some are showing 4 to 7, and some are showing 7 to 9. And we're going to go ahead and give you a general overview of conditions here. We're going to start with Bathhouse, which is about down here. I don't know if it's going to show up on the map, but it's like around in this area here. And Bathhouse right now has 7 to 9 foot waves, with a primary swell coming in at 13 seconds and a secondary swell coming in at 9 seconds. This is a big swell. We got some great footage of the big swell coming in up here a little bit to the north in the Avalon Pier area. And it looks like the big waves are actually in this region, in the Kitty Hawk region and Kill Devil Hills region of the Outer Banks, and getting a little bit smaller as we head on south, with those northeast facing beaches getting the brunt of it. Right now at Bathhouse does look like it's the big wave spot for the Outer Banks. Right now at Bathhouse, the winds are out of the west, southwest at 15 miles per hour, which is an offshore flow. Air temperature is 49 degrees, pretty chilly, but it's expected to warm up today. And ocean water temperatures 47 degrees, pretty cold as well. You're going to need a pretty decent cold weather protection, heavier than what I had yesterday. I got pretty cold in my gear out there. So if you do get out to Bathhouse to brave those huge waves, do make sure that you've got your cold weather gear lined up. Weather conditions for the Bathhouse area expected to be partly cloudy to mostly sunny today. It's that way here in Manio right now. And the high expected today in the middle to upper 50s over there at Bathhouse. Okay, heading on down the beach using our Google Maps for informational purposes. We are moving on to Jeanette's Pier. And right now at Jeanette's Pier, we have 4 to 7 foot waves breaking, very large, lovely waves coming in. Primary swell at 13 seconds with a secondary swell coming in at 9 seconds. West winds are 15 miles per hour. Coming in offshore, so helping to hollow out those big swells. This is a fresh breeze. It's not super strong, but it's enough to have an effect on the waves. And so you got these big cold swells coming in, and if you do take off on a wave like that, you're going to get cold spray in the face. So again, make sure you get your cold weather protection. Air temperatures right there at Jeanette's Pier also at 49 degrees. Ocean water temperatures 47 degrees, cold. So you're going to need your cold weather protection. Partly cloudy today, and the expected high of 59 degrees. So nearly 60, very warm in the air. That's going to help mitigate some of that cold from the ocean, but boy, is that ocean pretty cold right now. And with those westerly winds, that's going to help produce more upwelling of that cold water near the coast. So no break coming from the cold water there. I also want to look at a location a little bit further south, and let's zoom out and then head on down the coast past Oregon Inlet, the Pea Island National Wildlife Refuge, and down here to Rodanth Beach. And here at Rodanth, conditions are a little bit milder with waves in the range of 4 to 6 feet. A primary swell coming in at 13 seconds, secondary swell coming in at 9 seconds. Winds are out of the west, pretty fresh offshore wind here at 18 miles per hour, starting to get strong there. The waves will tend to be pretty hollow with that fresh offshore breeze. Air temperatures at Rodanth about 56 degrees Fahrenheit. Ocean water temperatures 55 degrees Fahrenheit, much warmer at Rodanth than at beaches further north. I might be heading down to Rodanth later on today. We'll see. Partly cloudy conditions with an expected high today of 57 degrees Fahrenheit. So mostly a focus on the more northerly beaches because the waves there are better. It is worth noting, though, that further south, the waves are in the range of 3 to 5, 4 to 6 feet, possibly a bit larger there at Buxton, which tends to catch all the swells. And the water temperatures are much warmer, getting into the 60s, particularly as you get on down to Avon and Buxton. So much warmer ocean water conditions. And with those air temperatures expected to be warmer today, much more pleasant general surf conditions. You won't be needing to have as much in the way of cold weather protection as you get into the surf there on the south facing beaches. All right, so let's get back into our longer range analysis. And right now, the 8 to 14 day outlook is showing above average to much above average temperature conditions for the US East, much below average temperature conditions for the US West, and a stormy boundary in between the two. This is a general outlook, and so this is definitely worth noting. Although with this dipole here in temperatures, there's going to be a lot of energy for storms, so we're going to want to keep an eye on that. Looking at the convective outlooks from the Storm Prediction Center, we are looking at some severe weather for Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, East Texas, and the Gulf coastal region with an enhanced chance of supercells, possible tornadic thunderstorms, hail, that kind of thing. So this weather system that is going to was expected to transition into a nor'easter is already gaining steam here in parts of the Mississippi River Valley region. I want to get down to some models here. I'm going to look at a lower 48 mile to show you this system progress. Okay, so right now we've got severe weather over Texas and the Gulf Coast region. And I'm going to actually zoom out here a little bit so we can see more. Okay, yeah, and this provided, no. This provided by Tropical Tidbits. Levi Cohen is the host of Tropical Tidbits, and go check him out over on Twitter. He's a climatologist, a tropical climatologist. Honestly, I'd be interested to hear what he has to say about the recent nor'easter development off the US East Coast. But let's get into this model. So this low pressure system is expected to spin up, head toward the Great Lakes region as forecast into Friday. And then the trailing edge of the front pull behind it is expected to start to drape across the southeast. And you can see the angle of it. It's tapping into Gulf moisture and Atlantic moisture from those warmer than normal ocean surfaces. And then by early Saturday, we start to get what is starting to look like a classic beginning nor'easter forming with severe weather firing along the coast and just off the coast of the Carolinas. And then as we get later into the day on Saturday, we get this low pressure system starting to form off Georgia and starting to intensify as it slowly moves up the east coast and then heads offshore off of Hatteras and just stalls on Sunday into Monday. And as it stalls, it is intensifying in the model and intensifying, and then slowly as it intensifies, heads on off toward the east later into Monday. So this is a 1000 to 990 millibar system, nothing too crazy in the millibar range, but a long duration event associated with a larger front and severe weather. We're going to have to keep an eye on this as this system progresses. The intensity of the hurricane force low pressure system was greater than expected in the model, so we'll just have to keep an eye on this potential nor'easter as it does develop. Okay, so let's look at some waves. I'm a little bit time crunched today. Actually, you know what? Let's first look at sea surface temperatures because sea surface temperatures are providing fuel for the strong nor'easters the strong nor'easter that formed recently, producing this massive hurricane force swell in the Outer Banks, and that is expected to help provide fuel for a nor'easter that is expected to form into this weekend and early next week. And just look at these warmer than normal ocean surface temperatures in the 9 to 10 to 9 to 10 degree Fahrenheit above normal range out here in the Gulf Stream. In the Gulf of Mexico, looks like in the 3 to 4 degree Fahrenheit above normal range. And then out here, just generally in the North Atlantic, in the 1 to 2.5, maybe 3 degrees Fahrenheit above normal range. And then even off the US East Coast, much warmer than normal here in the Northeast area. So just much warmer than normal ocean temperatures generally. You got some cool pools sporadically placed, but overall much warmer than normal ocean water temperatures in the broader North Atlantic and the broader Gulf of Mexico. And these warmer than normal waters providing fuel for these systems. Okay, now let's get down to waves. So we're already in the ocean model. Let's just go down to the wave model and waves and waves. There we go. And I'm in the wrong. Yeah, here we go. All right, so I finally got it right. Okay, so looking at the Outer Banks, I'm just going to go over the next few days. Right now, significant wave heights in the near offshore environment in the range of 7 feet. And just coming in out of the northeast on the backside of that hurricane force low from yesterday and the day before, now a gale force low. And then for tomorrow, expected wave heights to remain in the range of about 5 feet in the near offshore environment. So staying relatively tall tomorrow might be a really good day for surf as the general conditions appear to calm down a bit. It doesn't look like there's much wind influence out there. Just look at the winds really quick. Yeah, it looks like pretty mild winds off the coastline. And then into Friday, we still have a decent swell offshore, although we're starting to get some southerly winds here ahead of the front. And then into Saturday, we start to get the influence of the nor'easter with northeast winds coming in and looks like 8 to 9 foot significant wave heights. Off the Outer Banks into Saturday, we might get some amazing footage out there as this nor'easter forms. And then into Sunday, some big waves with that nor'easter really just stalling out here with some wave heights in the near offshore environment. Looks like in the range of 10 to 11 feet. I'm going to advance this model hour by hour just to see what happens with the waves. Looks like in the 10-foot range. Let's just back it up. I want to see if we can. Yesterday, oh yeah, here we go. Yesterday we got some 14-foot significant wave heights in this model, and it does look like like for the northern beaches, yeah, looks like 13 to 14-foot significant wave heights in the near offshore environment. So very large waves near the coast expected in association with this nor'easter. And you don't normally see significant wave heights out here in the 14-foot range, so that's something to keep an eye on. You can see waves double that height in the rogue wave type conditions. So yeah, this nor'easter is expected to kick up some very severe surf here on the Outer Banks. Not likely surfable conditions. This is going to be gnarly, folks. This is expected to be pretty darn gnarly as we look toward a storm event for the U.S. East Coast, gathering steam into Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And I'm just going to go ahead and advance the model so we can look at some of the wind expected in association with this system. And let's just go ahead and zoom in. This is coming in from the 12th. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday the 12th. Looks like near gale force winds. Yep, gale force winds coming in out of the northeast expected on Sunday. Have to keep an eye on if we get some rapid intensification, some unexpected rapid intensification of this system. So thank you for joining me for this session of the OBX wave reports, wave report, where we discuss all things waves, weather, climate, and beach lifestyle. And as I do typically, hopefully this ending appeal to you will not be cut off. We had our end cut off yesterday. But I do want to ask you to please do everything you can to help speed the transition to clean energy and help to rapidly deploy wind, solar panels, electric vehicles, smart grids, and all the other renewables that can aid in a clean energy transition away from fossil fuel burning, which is the primary driver of the threat to our coastlines now, coming in the form of sea level rise and more intense storms. So thank you for joining me, and I will be back with you shortly. Thank you all again, and I do hope you hear this appeal. I'm also wearing my pro-Ukraine shirt. Right now it's a key time for Ukraine. I'm going to urge all the democracies of the world to stand behind Ukraine as the Russians do gather another awful, terrible, invasive, harmful, genocidal type attack on that nation to wipe a free and fair democracy from the face of the earth. And as we support clean energy here, we also support democracy. So let's stand behind the Ukrainians. And I'm just going to leave you with that. So thank you for joining me for the OBX Wave Report here from